Hey loves, thank you once again for tuning into another video. Today's video is going to be a talk through while I do my makeup. So it's going to be a talk through, like a story time while I do my makeup. With that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and keep on watching. I'm now using the Anastasia because it doesn't dry out as quickly like the e.l.f., but it's still a good dupe. So if you're not willing to invest, how much is it? Probably $25 or something on this, then you can obviously get the dupe until you're able to do so. Both do the job if you like pomades for your brows. So I'm just going to be taking a regular angled brush, and it's in the color Ebony. And I'll just be lining my brows. What I'll be talking about is like why I've been MIA, and also my journey so far. As you may already know, I had a baby. So I found out I was pregnant in March. So I'm using the LA Girl Pro Concealer. This is Fawn. Fawn I'll use for the upper brows. And I'll be using medium beige for my lower brow or brow bone, whatever they call it. Yeah. Being pregnant, I just wanted to focus on being pregnant. Now, being pregnant was no walk in the park. Well, my pregnancy, besides morning sickness, which wore off by, say May. By May, I had it down pat. I didn't have to take the pills I was prescribed anymore. I could just focus on being happy. I had a lot of energy by my second trimester, and pregnancy was just fun then, until I started gaining a lot of weight. I'm sure you guys can see all this weight, but until I get clearance from my doctor, I'll try not to be bothered by it. I'll just work with the extra pounds. Yeah, so yeah, this part, I'll just shut up for this part. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just using this to clean up my brows because it's not really a tutorial. I guess you guys can just look and follow, but we're really just doing a little chit chat. Okay, so as we know, COVID came like a big old storm. COVID just come and mash up everything. But for me, COVID just brought things into perspective. And also, being pregnant in COVID was not a bad thing. I've said this before, because I had time to focus on my family, my growing family and stuff like that. My friends and I were able to bond. And it was just overall not a bad year. Amidst all the challenges and the scares and stuff, we just found ways to still live life, to still be happy. I know we shouldn't be going out and about and whatever, but I feel like COVID is not just any other like virus, and it's not a virus that we can say will be gone in a month or in 2 months or whatever, because they've been talking about a second wave and all of that. So what that means for me, and I've had this discussion with my friends, is just that we have to learn to live with it and not be a prisoner to this virus. So I'm just gonna tell you, I've gone out. I was pregnant and I was going out, but I know I'm responsible. And I'm not gonna die from depression, because if it's not COVID, it's depression, and I'm just not gonna do it. So my friends and I, we go out. We're not going clubbing. Went there, and we also took a trip to British Columbia, and I loved it. We did a whole 11 days. So I was able to get pictures. I was able to just have fun in one of the most beautiful provinces ever. We went to Victoria Island. So the island is even more beautiful. But I loved the islands. It reminded me of the Caribbean. It reminded me of the simple living in Jamaica, but still like you can live a good life. That's what it reminded me of. And so it was good. It was fresh air. There was beaches. All that I did while I was pregnant. So I wasn't house ridden at all. And I don't regret it. I'm still COVID free. And my baby's healthy and all of that. Now I'm just gonna, I've already primed my face. I use the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. And what I do when I'm applying this is I pump out a little bit on the back of my palm and I rub it in there and then I apply it to my face. This was a hack that was given to me by a young lady in Sephora. Before I get into my foundation, I'm just going to try doing a little eye look. And I'm going to go back for an old school palette, which is the Morphe. Trust me, it looks very dingy, but that's because it's worn, like it's used. And I'll be going in with the transition shade. I'll be going in with this shade to just, I'm just going to use this as the base. So yeah, so I'm going to put this in the crease or whatnot. As you can see, it's starting to add some color. I'm gonna do a little fall look, something simple, but like everyday clean look. All right, now getting into my labor, which was no walk in the park. I was supposed to give birth October 7th, and then my son just didn't want to come. At that time, my OB wanted me to be induced like a week later, which I was not happy about because, for one, at week 35 I did an ultrasound and the ultrasound said my baby was already 8 pounds. Bruh, like I am naturally skinny. This is the heaviest I've been all my life. And so I knew it was going to be troublesome. So I took matters into my own hands. I'm gonna go in with, sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but we're having this conversation and I also want to let you know what I'm using. So I'm going in with this brown shade and I'm gonna put that into my crease. I'm just gonna start on the outer V's and work it into my crease. I took matters into my own hands and I followed my dear friend Chanel. She basically suggested that she told me how I could induce labor, even though she has tried some of them, and the most popular one is having sex. So I decided that I was going into labor. So on the night of the 7th, when I took matters into my own hands, I started feeling contractions around 11 p.m. My contractions were really close. And so we decided to go to the hospital. Now, before I get into the rest of the story, I'm going to go in with this darker brown here, again in my crease, before I go in with my lid color. So not too much because it's very dark. I went to the hospital. They put me on the monitor and all of that to monitor the baby's heart rate and the contractions. And I was only 3 centimeters dilated. I've been 3 centimeters a few days, so there wasn't a lot of progress in the dilation there, but I was in a lot of pain. I was still at 3 centimeters. They called my OB and she came in the morning around 7 a.m. and was like, okay, you've been 3 centimeters for a few days. So because there's not much progress, we're gonna send you home. I was upset. The nurses were kind of like, why is she sending her home? Like, so they sent me home. I came home upset. My partner was livid. He was like, he doesn't understand why they're sending me home or whatever, and whatnot. I calmed him down and whatever. So we ate breakfast and we took a nap. The nap was like 30 minutes. Yeah, so we came back from the hospital and contractions started again, and that was around 11 a.m. in the morning. The contractions started, and I called the hospital and they were like, yes, just come back in. It makes no sense. You're at home and you're in pain. Like, this is the best place to be or whatever. So I went back to the hospital. They put me on the monitor. Contractions were worse and we were in labor, not active labor, but we were in labor. Thought the baby was gonna come on the 8th. Didn't happen. He was just lingering and it was hard. I was there for 24 hours. I was in labor for a whole 24 hours. Mind you, so I'll be using this brush for the shade that I'm gonna put on my lid. It's like a flat brush. Again, it's BH Cosmetics, and I'm just gonna use the Morphe Continuous Setting spray. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of this here with this, so I can kind of mute this orange. And I'm just gonna apply to the center here. So that's literally 3 shades so far. Here. Yeah, so we're in labor for 24 hours. Because my baby was big, around 12 a.m. the next morning, not 12 a.m., so around 9 p.m. that night, my doctor, who isn't my OB, but it was a doctor on call at the moment, who was a male. So my OB is female and this doctor on call was a male. And all the nurses were like, this is the doctor you need, because your doctor is going to push for a C-section because you have a big baby. This doctor is the perfect doctor. He's dealt with these situations before. But then the doctor came to me and he was like, okay, your baby is not average size. And so we may have to do a C-section because he's not low enough. So he was like, he's not low enough, so you may have to do a C-section. I was like, I don't want to do a C-section. It wasn't in my birth plan. C-sections just seem so much more difficult. The recovery seems harder, all of that. And I was frantic. But that hospital had the best nurses. So there was a nurse who wasn't my nurse at the time. She came and she was like, okay, I was sent here to like talk to you because I've had C-sections myself personally. So I'm using the same browns and I'm just using that to clean up. So she's like, I was sent here to just like talk to you or whatever, just to tell you my experience. So she came and she's like, I've had C-sections. The most difficult part is when people really don't, they're not active, so they don't try to get up and like walk around a little bit and try to get out of that, oh, I've had a C-section, I have to sit forever and blah blah blah. She was just trying to be encouraging or whatever, but in the back of my head, still didn't want to have a C-section. I have a doula So my doula couldn't be there because I was only allowed to have one support person, which obviously is my partner. So yeah, so I was speaking to my doula and she already told me how a C-section works. Like she told me, she gave me a demonstration of how many layers of skin they cut through and blah, blah, blah. So I was talking to her and was like, okay, I have to have a C-section. Well, I may have to have a C-section. I don't know how I feel about it, but obviously my priority is the health of the baby. So the doctor gave me 3 hours. So that was 9 p.m. He said around midnight he's gonna come back, and if nothing changes, then we gotta have a C-section. I messed up my top, but whatever. He's like, we have to like do a C-section. So I'm using Nars, the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation in the shade Caracas. I use it for my contour, but because I've gotten a little bit darker, being pregnant and all of that, I kind of just put this on my skin first in the darker areas, and then I put on my foundation. That way I don't have to replace my foundation because I know my shade will come back in the winter. So that's my little hack there. He told me he was gonna come back 12 o'clock, and if nothing changes, we have to have a C-section. So he came back 12 o'clock, and by the grace of the Father up above, the baby was lower. And he's like, oh, well, we cannot do a C-section anymore. We have to try pushing because he's too low now, and we'll have to push him back up. And that's like working backwards. So I was like, okay, I'll push. I was pushing for like an hour or more. It wasn't working. I could see my baby's head, but each time I'll push like out, and I couldn't hold the push anymore, and I had to exhale. He would go back up, and my doctor said, okay, do you need us to assist you? I didn't know what he meant, but I was exhausted, and my baby's heart rate was sort of dropping, which shows that he was kind of stressed out from all of it. So I was like, sure, whatever you can do, just please help me, because obviously I can't do this. He's like, your pelvis is so narrow, so small. That's the reason you're having so many challenges right now, because it's a bigger baby. Obviously my body structure hasn't changed. I've gained weight, but the structure of my body is the same. Yeah, so he said, okay, we'll help. I saw the guy I saw the doctor pull his table out. Like, this is something you see in the movies. He pulled his table out with so many shiny equipment. And he had one thing there, like a pair of it looked like 2 spatula. I see him pull out the spatula, and he's like, these are forceps, and we're gonna use this, so whenever you get a contraction, you push, and then we'll assist. So I pushed and pushed, and he used the forceps, and they're able to get his head out. And then he's like, okay, the problem now is the shoulders. And so they did their thing. Kudos. Like my experience with that hospital was like, I couldn't imagine being somewhere else. Mind you, all my nurses were black women or colored women. I had one Caucasian nurse. She just checked me like once. She wasn't my nurse, she was just helping out, but she was really nice as well. I can tell you that that hospital had some of the best, most professional, most loving and caring nurses. Like, they basically did their thing to get him out. All right, so I'm starting to look like somebody's child right now. And yeah, now I'll be using the Too Faced Born This Way. This is a new product I'm using. I'm using the shade Butterscotch, and I'm using that for my highlight areas. So I was there blabbing away, and my camera wasn't on for some reason, but I have applied the Sacha Buttercup setting powder. I'm trying out a new powder. Well, it's not new. I've used Laura Mercier, but I'm trying their new shade, Honey. So I'll be putting that afterwards. And I've also gone ahead to apply my contour, which is the Anastasia foundation stick in Walnut. And I've just applied it to my cheek areas, and then I've used my brush here to just put on my forehead. I don't apply it to my forehead or my chin because sometimes it's too dark, but I just put it here, and whatever is left on the brush, I use that for these areas. What I will say is that my labor experience was not an easy one, but it's something I can talk about for the rest of my life. I don't know if I want to have more children. I love my son so much, but I don't know if I want to have more kids. I might. So I'll be using, I'm trying this out as well. It's a Morphe bronzer, face and body bronzer, and I'm using the shade, it's their Glamabronze. I'm using the shade Trailblazer, and I'll be using that in my contour areas because I like using a powder contour on top of my stick contour. I just find that it works best. So I'm going in with the same, well, not the same brush. I'll go in with a bigger angled brush or contour brush. This is Morphe MB1. And I'm just gonna put that here and on my forehead, my chin area, and bring it down to my neck a little bit. So that's that. I'm also taking it into my brow area or eyelid area, so it looks like a transition. Oh, I love this. It doesn't look too harsh, but it definitely does it there. Okay, now this is where I'll be using the Laura Mercier. Going in with my Real Technique sponge and okay. And that's that so far. And I'll just be using a fluffy brush and I'm just gonna like take off the excess. I'm using 20,000 mirrors right now. So far it's looking bomb. I can't wait to do mommy and me outfits, but he's too small right now. He's only a month old. So I'm trying to be careful with not like resisting the urge to buy too many things that he'll outgrow, right? So the brown, and I'm just using a flat brush. That's because I don't really use eyeliner. So you see, you can stick with the one palette and get so many looks. This is a palette that I would recommend anyone to have if they still carry it. And I'll be using the same brush, and I'll just be using this orangey shade because it's like the closest. This is going to be a little bit too bright, so I'm just going to go in with this here underneath, and I'm just going to take it on both sides and use one for each eye. And I already have my lashes done. My friend Chanel did them for my birthday. So I still have them. I need a refill. I need like a fill, but they'll work. And I'm going back in with the Benefit Precisely My Brow. So I'm just making hair-like strokes at the front of my brows so I can give it like that look. Sorry. And yeah, okay, so back to my story because I'm all over the place, but back to my story. My experience so far, again, it's no walk in the park. I think I was telling you about having baby blues, but then my camera cut off for some reason. But yes, I was having baby blues. If anyone knows, baby blues is not postpartum depression, but it happens postpartum, and it can definitely lead to postpartum depression. I was going through that, didn't know what it was in the first. I thought it was depression. I didn't really say it to anyone, but my friends could definitely tell that there was something different about me. I was like easily stressed out about the least things. And one of the worst things that I wasn't able to breastfeed. So I was trying. He latched on at the hospital, but for some reason he just didn't like the breast. He would cry. And my mom was pretty supportive. She's like, don't worry about it. Like, the formula is there. It's a good substitute if you can't do it. We want you to be able to breastfeed, but you cannot make some things happen if you can't. Not everyone felt that way. There was others that are definitely advocates for breastfeeding, and so that made it difficult, made it seem as though I'm making the choice to not breastfeed, when in fact I just couldn't. Sadly, I used to cry so much. I remember one morning I was crying over my son's head. Like, I was trying to feed him. I just decided I'm gonna try the breast. It wasn't working. I started crying. Here, yes. Yes, ma'am. I could not breastfeed for the first few weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks. And just one morning I got up and was like, okay, I'm gonna try today again. Let's see what happens. It was setting spray. I'm just gonna set all over. So I just used my Sephora powder. I love it. You guys should try it. And it's in the shade, it's their micro smooth powder. It's in the shade Mahogany, and you should try it. It's the best finishing, like, it's the best overall powder that you can use to tie everything together. If your highlight is looking too bright, you can use this to mute it out. It's good. You should try it. Don't say I didn't tell you to try something. And then my Morphe Continuous Setting spray, I'm just gonna drench my skin. Some of it got in my mouth, but who told me to do that? Why did I do that? But anyways, I remember one morning I got up and was like, I'm gonna try to breastfeed today. I was crying. I was trying to breastfeed. It wasn't happening. I was in tears. And then I don't know if it was all this crying and my son got tired of me crying every time over his head. He just started taking the breast. I'm like, hallelujah. I called everybody to let them know I can now breastfeed. Booyah. But now, after breastfeeding, the first few days, my breast was in flames, and my partner laughed at me so hard. He's like, every day you get up, you're crying over the child's head, and now that you can breastfeed, I don't want to hear the crying about being in pain. I'll be using a larger fan brush with this oldie but goodie. It's I think it's Mahogany. Yes, it's Mahogany bronzer, and it's in the shade Fantastic. So I'll be using that to slightly highlight. Yes, that's that. Nothing too out of the way, but yeah, you get the picture. I don't really highlight my nose because it's already highlighted. It's big, but I'm just gonna do it because I can, and my nose is just that accessory with that, you know, you gotta live with it. And I'm going in now with the Milk mascara. I got this from Sephora for my birthday, so I'm still trying it out. If I like it, I'll be buying it. And it's their Kush mascara. I'll be using it for my lower lashes. Okay, that's that. Let's see if we like this look. I think I do. How about you? And I'll be going in with a brown, but I'm definitely going to be using something nude. So I'll be going in with the MAC Cork liner. So I'm using that to just slightly line my lips, nothing too dramatic. And let's see, I don't know what shade lip gloss or lip thing I'm gonna use. I have this little e.l.f. Lipstick in natural. I don't know what line it's from, but it's their lip lacquer, and I'm gonna use that, and then the Bare Minerals Gen Nude to just like make it glossy. And that's it for the look. That's it for my long story. I'm just gonna give you some views of the eye and whatnot, and you tell me how you feel about this look. So you're gonna tell me how you feel about these new products that I'm trying out. I like them so far, so if you do, just let me know down below. Okay guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this little look. It's a vibe. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any concerns or comments or tips about our little story or these products, feel free to comment them down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.